Hello, everybody, and welcome to Healy for Beginners and Beyond for December 21st, 2023. I'm your host, Jake Barron, Head of Operations for the Americas. And I have two amazing co-hosts on the call today. Ken Close, who you're familiar with if you've ever been on one of these calls or Tech Tip Tuesday or been around Healy for a while. Our amazing engineer, expert, independent Healy product member here. And then we also have a special guest from Spain on the call, Sonia Tarrida. If you were on our What's Up Wednesday a few months ago, she did an amazing segment on animals, and she is an amazing person and an amazing veterinary frequency specialist. So we've got a special call for you today. Our most popular Healy for Beginners and Beyond of the year was one we did back in March. We talked about quantum entanglement, and we showed how to do a remote session. And we're going to dive back into that topic, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. And we're also going to show this time how to do a remote analysis via the Analyze app for a group. So everybody on this call, we're going to do an analysis for that, and then Sonia is going to guide us through that as far as also the process of how to do it and how we're going to vibrate those frequencies to everybody on this call. But yeah, so we're going to start with basically quantum entanglement, the information field, and how those things combined with the Healy technology allow us to do what we're going to do on today's call. So let's get right into it. So this is our Healy World disclaimer related to the information field. And there's, usually, a lot of times we show these, we don't really read out the whole thing. There's certain points here that I want to point out because, as the first paragraph here, information field technology is a proprietary technology of Healy World. It is based on the theory that the information field is the non-material area through which spirit and matter communicate. It reflects that what we consider to be the spiritual meaning of life events, and the existence of such a field is discussed in scientific literature. So we're going to discuss all that in more detail as far as what that means, sort of how we're communicating here with the information field. We're going to show you a lot of the resources too, where those studies are, a scientific basis for the information field as well. But just keep in mind, everything that we're doing here, very important to point out, the analysis and harmonization in the information field it's not intended to cure, treat, mitigate, diagnose, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's really intended to give the user the option in a holistic context to help derive helpful information from the findings in the information field. And each of us on this call should determine based on our own experience whether or not the application seems helpful to them or not. So just wanted to point out those key things because we're diving really deep into the information field, something that we don't always do on these calls. So I wanted to start here. We've all heard, everyone knows Albert Einstein, but we've talked about some of his famous quotes in the past, and things related to the frequency, the future of medicine being the medicine of frequencies, and of course, even before Einstein, dating back to Nikola Tesla as well. But there's related to today's topic, I pulled this information out here because it kind of flows well with what we're going to be going along on today's journey. And this first one here, concerning matter, we have all been wrong. What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. Matter is spirit reduced to the point of visibility. There is no matter. And then second here, when something vibrates, the electrons of the entire universe resonate with it. Everything is connected. The greatest tragedy of human existence is the illusion of separateness. So, obviously there was a lot of thought behind in general, this field, but back in the 1930s, there was no real way to investigate this to prove these kind of things. And that's why in 1935, Albert Einstein, he described quantum entanglement as spooky action at a distance. because all these things that we feel and we experience, to them, back then it was spooky, because it's like, well, how is that possible? That defies everything we know about physics. That it's happening, but how? So that's why there was that kind of skepticism about everything back then. And this was 1935, almost 100 years ago now, or not quite, but which leads us into this next section. And really, there wasn't a lot of work done between when Albert Einstein made that quote. It really wasn't until the 1960s when theoretical physicist John Stuart Bell, he proposed an experiment based off what Einstein has said, that skepticism over spooky action. So he proposed this experiment, which is now known as the Bell inequality test, to help determine whether the quantum prediction of entanglement is possible, is right, or was Einstein's skepticism of spooky action right? So he put this out there, this theory, but he didn't know how to conduct the actual experiment. He was a theoretical physicist, and it wasn't for another 10 years or so when theoretical and experimental physicist John Clauser, he designed the first approach to test for this Bell test, as far as how he's going to show whether or not Einstein's skepticism was right, or this test that John Stuart Bell, the theory behind it, if you were to do this, would prove quantum entanglement. So he set up this test where he would manipulate two apparently entangled photons, which are particles of light. And the test was actually successful. It showed that entanglement was real. And he was the first person to actually perform a Bell test. But the crazy thing is that back then, physics, this quantum physics, this sort of field was thought of as not really serious. It's kind of like out there, sort of, I don't know. And his career suffered quite a bit as a result of him being sort of operating off in this rogue field that wasn't well accepted by the scientific community. And he put it out there. He was the first to do it. And then over the next 10, 20, 30 years, additional people conducted more experiments as well. In the 1980s, French physicist Alain Aspect, he conducted some more comprehensive, much more advanced testing or experiments using photons that also proved entanglement is real and not just a theory. So as time went on, as technology got better, people were able to do more detailed tests to kind of prove what John Stuart Bell and also John Clauser were doing back in the 60s and into the 70s. But it really wasn't after that, another 30 years, it kind of shows how complex the nature of proving something like this is when you're talking about a single photon, which are very hard to control and capture and measure. It wasn't until 2015 that the technology for these single photon detectors was advanced enough to rule out any other possible local variables, hidden variables that might influence this type of thing. So, okay, so 1960, Einstein in the 30s, Bell in the 60s, Clauser in the 70s, Aspect in the 80s, 2015, and then let's fast forward to last year. Quantum entanglement is no longer spooky. So 50 years after this field was dismissed as being not serious and kind of crazy and out there, some of the people, John Clauser, you see the name here, Alain Aspect, and one other physicist, Anton Zeilinger, they received the ultimate recognition, the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2022. So this to me is fascinating, that it kind of just shows that things, all this stuff is crazy until it's not crazy. All of a sudden, these people are geniuses and they won Nobel Prize and they're receiving worldwide recognition for their work. But back in the 70s, this guy's career suffered because of the work that he was doing. And now he gets a Nobel Prize for it. So, if this doesn't kind of just prove the point that just because, you don't understand something, or if you share Healy with somebody they don't understand it, it doesn't mean that 10 years from now they might be learning Healy too and say, no, well, yeah, now I know, now the world knows. So what we're doing here is very new. That's why we have a lot of these disclaimers on our website that this is things aren't fully accepted by the scientific community. So because this work, just taking 50 years to go from the first experimental test to receiving the recognition from the Nobel Prize, over kind of basically this one single topic. And then once you expand that into the whole information field, and which is what we're going to talk about next here, is about how quantum entanglement relates to the information field, which then relates to the technology we're using specifically in Healy to use that in order to do these types of analysis and things like that. So, Ken, anything to, or Sonia, anything to add on this topic before we move more into the Healy specific topic?
I mean, those guys you mentioned, especially like Albert Einstein, and one of the other pioneers of quantum science is Max Planck. Again, a German theoretical physicist, as is what you mentioned with Bell. Max Planck, again, theoretical physicist, but these guys knew certain information and ways of the universe that others didn't. And to prove that was just one of those amazing things. And here's the cool thing. These guys all hung out, I'm sure, together in the same field, right? So the good old boys, Einstein and Planck and these guys, these scientists were just good old boys discovering these theories, developing them, and then proving them. So now we've got the evidence of what was. One of the things if I could just read a quick little quote. And this quote is from Max Planck. And he says that, and here's the thing, we follow nature, don't we? When medicine discovers something, science discovers something, these discoveries are based on nature, and there's a natural order to thing. And Max Planck said, back in the 40s, he said, an experiment is a question which science poses to nature, and a measurement is the recording of nature's answer. Think about that. So now we're in that exact plane of understanding right now. And as Jake said, we have to do these disclaimers so that, our regulatory systems don't say something, but at least we know that nature is the actual precursor. And the better we understand how the natural order of things are, the better that we heal these bodies. So thank you, guys.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're taking this is real. It's not made up. It's not a theory. This is how the world works, the universe works, and we're just trying to utilize Healy technology to benefit for everyone as far as what we're going to discuss here tonight.
Yeah, I want to leave it also more down to earth, down to comprehensive. No, we are quantum entanglement. Somebody pushes you and the whole body, the whole cells are at the same time getting their work done, because what's that? This is a fear, or this is unbalance, or this is a challenge, or they all work together. I always say that there's a group of horses and one of them has fear, and all the other ones are running at the same time, and nobody is asking the other one, why are we running? Why are we running? No, they just run because one probably saw the lion, and then all are entangled. That emotion is entangled with all the horses, and they all run together. And that is a group of horses. And we are going to do therapy to a group of people. We are nature, and we are in this game of earth, flowers, bees, and the bear that eats the flowers. No, it's so how pretty we get ourselves into balance. And if we can give a little bit of music, a little bit of music that gets us to remember our best part of ourselves, or or gets us to realize that there is well-being, there is a solution, there is a hope. That's there because we resonate with it. We have it inside. That's what I mean. We have it inside, because if not, we would never resonate. One of the things that with resonance like really shocked me when I started thinking, wow, if we resonate, like our heart resonates the same frequency that the heart of the horse, we're not that much apart, right? Or a tortoise. You see a tortoise and she's so different to me, but she's not, because she resonates to many of the frequencies that we resonate when we dealing with the liver issues or the aches or the even all these things of mental balance. And it's really getting deep into using frequencies to be able to retrieve a different outbreak, a different recover. It's so important that we give ourselves to this technology and to this ableness to get to try to go over our challenges. One of the things that it doesn't work if you don't use it. So anybody that has Healy, that has it on the draw, don't, please, you can ask people. I do that all the time because I'm a veterinarian. So somebody comes, oh, you're limping. Oh, how are you feeling? Oh, you're not feeling well. No? And they give us an answer. And when they give us an answer, what do you do? Do you go like, oh, sorry? Or do you say, let me try this? Maybe I can help you. What if I can help you? What if I can help you? I'll try, but if I don't give the frequency, I can't open that possibility, right? So I offer the frequency with Healy. And one of the things that I, all the time during 15 years working with bioresonance and then 3 years working with Healy all the time, I take it everywhere. I take it on trips, I take it to business, I do houses, I do everything with Healy that I normally do. I add Healy, and it always is very surprising how the changes do. So I do a lot of remote distance healing, because sometimes the horses, I'm there, maybe I'm 2 meters from them, but maybe I can't get in, or maybe they're together with other horses. I use it all the time like this, like I'm going to do with the thumb. I do it on groups of horses. So for many years I've done that. I know how much it helps. Also long distance, I'm helping animals long distance, elephants. I have to tell you that there was this rescue of this elephant, and the owner saw the difference just by adding that. So should I use it? Maybe it doesn't work. No. Change. What if it works? What if it helps? That's so beautiful. If you think like that, if you open your mind like that, what if it helps? Well, there's this question, no? Can it help me to do that? It's so worth trying. Try it. All what can happen is that the door of your garage, that key is not the one, that frequency that you're sending is not the one that opens not the garage, our garage door, our body garage door. If it doesn't open, try another one. Try it again. Try different. Try calling another friend that they have another view of your issue. Never not do what it works for you. Never not call the veterinarian or call the doctor. Do everything that you're doing for overcome your challenge, but add frequencies, because what if it helps? So what I started doing is getting groups, Zoom, a lot of people. What could I do? Like, what can I do long distance? Yes, I'm in Spain, but there's so many people I would love to help. So then I started doing all these Zooms, and then using the group mode that you're going to explain now, while I do the session, no? Well, it was very surprising because everybody was feeling. And I want you to notice, like right away, I started doing all these Zooms and all this group of people we would explain some things. We would do like today, it doesn't matter which subject, but I was able to do the sending the frequencies long distance, and the people after an hour, they were telling what they felt with their discomforts, and it was very surprising because it went over expectations. Even I say that I have to be, I'm very, very happy with the results of Healy, with the help that Healy gives. It was very shocking to see so general relief with this. So I don't know, Jake, if you want me to tell what I want from them for the time.
Yeah, so yeah, I think we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll get the group photo and you can explain, because I have some more slides that I want to go through as far as the resources that Healy has, that we have presentations we've done, things in Academy. But we'll go through that stuff after you've done that in between the group analysis that you're doing. So at this point, would you want everyone to go on camera?
Yeah, this is what I do, and I know you here, many of you have Healy, and it would be really lovely that you invite somebody to the call and do the same, or maybe you can try and do the same with your friends, right? You get them on the Zoom, and then what really when you're doing long distance, it is very important to focus, to get a perception of what's happening. And because energy goes where your attention goes. So what I'm going to ask you from 1 to 5, you don't need to put the camera on your face if you don't want. I only need your hand. And then your hand is your perception of discomfort. So 5 will be a lot of discomfort. 1 will be very little discomfort. These will be 0 discomfort. From 1 to 5 to I have a little bit of discomfort. I think it is very understandable. When you are getting attention, please move. Maybe it's a pain that you only have when you walk. So then you remember. Please remember when you walk, how did you felt? Did it feel hot? Did it feel like stabbing pain, hot pain, like a compression pain? Did it feel like it was very frustrating because it doesn't let you hold your baby, or it was okay because it gets you on the sofa? Which perception of that pain? Okay, so think all those things as much as you can when you give me this hand, because then you will be the perception that I need to be able to focus on what's your problem. While we are explaining more things, you will feel, and then I will ask you in 10-15 minutes again that hand. Like if you're putting a 5 and you're feeling any difference, like I'll ask you to check how you're feeling again. And then if it's a little bit better, if you had a 5, then you would put a 4 or a 3 or a 1, whatever. And then at the end, I will ask you again. And this is because sometimes when I ask for the perception, people is like, oh, and they don't focus. When I ask again, how are you feeling now? Then they focus. So that's why I asked 2 times. Okay. So we're gonna give the hand. So it's 1, 2, 3 now. And then we'll do a picture, and I'll put this picture in the Healy app. So it's a 3. I don't, not her. Okay. Okay. So then they are sending it to me through WhatsApp. And then I'm using that picture for the Healy app. And now they will explain you how all this work with the Healy, okay?
Okay, I just sent it over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back sort of to where we left off here. 1 second. Sorry. There again, and we'll get right back while Sonia's getting everything set up there. Okay, so, you know, I wanted to mention some of the resources that we have available here because we've talked about sort of the information field, quantum entanglement, but now the link between that and what we're doing within the Healy device itself. So for those of you that were lucky enough to catch the December 6th training we did on What's Up Wednesday, Martin Whitman had a great segment on the information field. If you missed that, you can get to it from our Healy World Americas channel on YouTube, which is just at HealyAmericas.com, or you can just scan this QR code and that will take you right to that segment as well. So don't watch it right now, of course, in the middle of this, but save that for later. Definitely worth checking out. But then also, Healy Academy has come tremendously far over the last a year or so. The amount of content that's available in Healy Academy, there's hours or maybe even days of content there now, but we have some great resources just in Healy Academy on the information field and quantum entanglement. Scientific foundations of information field technology, videos on human consciousness, the entanglement between consciousness and physical noise generators. And there's the QR code there that will take you right to the login for Healy Academy. You have to log in, so I can't really go past that. But the first video on the right here, this is an older video. I think it's been around for at least a year or more. But this one is in the coach module section, but it has some great information on information field and quantum entanglement. So that is for sure one worth checking out. But the newest series of videos, which are the ones maybe not everybody has seen, there's a whole new science section in Healy Academy. And there's a whole 8 videos just on the information field. So you'll see here, in the summary, we explain the scientific foundations of information field technology from the basics of the concept of information in science, the relationships between information field, human consciousness, and noise generators, and proceeding from this, how to use the entanglement between consciousness and physical noise generators. And that is the proprietary technology that Healy is using within the information field itself. And Ken, I know you have a lot to say on this topic as far as the actual engineering sort of aspect related to physical noise generators too.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at the science, let's go from the electronics or the physical components within the hardware. And how does that actually work? Because one of the most, significant things to overcome spooky science, right, is evidence. And evidence is the clearest marker of our understanding. It's how we base our truth, our beliefs, right? So to understand how Healy works, we need to understand a bit about a random generator. In an electronics field, there is a digital circuitry or component called a random generator. And they're used for many, many, many different things in our technological world. These random generators do everything from, control the slot machines in Vegas to, if you've ever been part of a drawing or something like that, where a bunch of names are in a hat, in what we call a digital hat, and then a winner is picked. There is a number assigned to each entity within the pool. And a random generator just picks a number, and it uses random influences. And when I say random influences, it literally uses sound from a electron. And now think about this for a second. Within your body, you have 100 trillion cells, and within each cell, you have billions of electrons. Okay. So, and each one is making a sound. Wow. Think about that for a second. That's a lot of noise, right? It could be, or a lot of information. And as Martin explained, and Jake has brought attention to, is we're working within the information field. And the information field it encompasses every electron within the universe. It's a unification field of just information. And so science has discovered a way of listening to the electron. And there was an inventor in 1986 who created the random generator. And it was based on exactly what I just said. It is a micro electronic noise associated with this electron motion, a moving electron. And it has an interference or a measurable output. And so back then in the mid 80s, there was another scientist, Rene Posch, and you can look this up, was doing experiments within psychokinesis. In other words, he believed that our thoughts had some influence, right? On what? Well, on maybe other people, on maybe some random quote unquote outcome, on maybe our lives in general. And so he tried working on proving this and took very, 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 very primitive intelligence or consciousness, AKA baby chicks. He took these baby chicks, 1 to 7 days old. They were hatched under the influence of a robot, right? It was just a robot. That was a cylindrical kind of shape, well, actually almost pyramid type of shape. And these baby chicks were birthed near it and then would view it as their mother, right? It was a very primitive consciousness. And when they would get fed or when they were awakened, it was near them. This particular robot was controlled by a random generator. And there were 2 motors. One motor controlled the 360-degree orbit. The other motor controlled its forward or back trajectory between 0 and 20 meters. And it was placed in the presence of these chicks, 50 at a time. And there was a couple of, I think there was 150 different experiments done. And what happened was when the baby chicks were present, in other words, the robot would operate and the cage in which the baby chicks were in, when they were present, the robot only orbited over 70% of the time in the quarter quadrant of its range. Only 1 quarter, in other words, 75% of the quadrant was not used, was not even, this robot would just not go there. And so the only thing that controlled the robot's movement was random noise generators. And they would just, again, turn the wheels one direction or the other randomly, move them forward or backwards randomly. And when the presence of the chicks were not there, this device orbited the entire inner surface area of the confined space. And the thing was also programmed, by the way, when it would approach a barrier, it would actually stop, wait for the next servo movement, and then move again. So this is how it would move about the entire space. But when the chicks were placed there, there was some intelligence, some form of influence over this random generator that couldn't be denied. And experiment after experiment after experiment was demonstrating that. And there is a study that you can find online that talks about this particular experiment. And the scientist, I'll put it in the chat, is Rene Posch. And you can take a look at what his intention was, simply to prove the psychokinesis. In other words, the ability for a thought to have an influence maybe on another person. What he discovered was the link between consciousness, right, and technology. And there's many, many other proven sciences out there that show digital electronics, aka your computer, your smart device, anything that's controlled by a logic circuit, that your thoughts have influence on their performance. So, quick question for the audience. How many of you guys think you're no good with electronics? Or how many of you know, I mean, nobody here, I'm sure, has problems with digital electronics or any of that kind of stuff, but maybe you know somebody that says, I'm just no good with computers. You know somebody like that? That's a self-proclaimed outcome. You're actually creating that because your thoughts have influence over the digital circuitry, the software, the processing, all of the concepts of that digital component, whatever it is. Could be your smart device, could also be your computer. So I want you to think about that when we're going into anything we're doing. And Healy is a very, very advanced technology. And so the way it measures us is through a random noise generator that when it's asked to do an analysis, and Sonia's doing that right now, when it's asked to do an analysis, it looks into the quantum field for whatever the client is or whoever the client is. This is why you put a client in there. And the random noise generator, it pairs with the client and the database. It pairs and builds a bridge. And it builds a bridge based on the consciousness of the client. Now, if the consciousness is an animal, a plant, a group, a vehicle, a building, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's got a consciousness. Even, ladies and gentlemen, even a rock has a consciousness. And the way we know this, here's how we know this. Because Einstein said it, the observer effect. There must be an observer to observe matter, or I should say energy, into matter. So a rock has material form. When it's not observed, does it exist? You can say yes. How do you know? You're not observing it. So there must be a consciousness in order to observe energy into material form. And that's exactly the entanglement that Healy uses to take the information of the client. And there's a very distinct component in there that puts the content of the client on one side of the equation and the database on the other side of the equation. And as these two merge, there is a barrier, a bridge. It's two different silicon materials, and there's a bridge in which electrons jump, and they're exposed, essentially. It's not the best word, but they're exposed to the universe, and information is transferred. And so a very distinct outcome based on the database is given to the client, right? The answers from the quantum field are given to the client. And the interesting part about that is, like, how many times have you seen it? Oh my God, how did it know? Right? I didn't even realize this. That's because it's looking at things from an objective perspective, not the ego, not the physical, but the objective observer, right? This is above everything else. And there's an intelligence there. There's an intelligence there that is extremely important to understand. As Max Planck talked about it, over a decade ago, that within this quantum field, there is a intelligence that orchestrates this information. So,
Ken, that was amazing. But actually, I pulled out we're not going to watch these videos. We don't have time to watch, but there's definitely check out this section of Academy. There's 8 different videos, but I pulled out just 4 with screenshots because just the summary of what's being discussed in the video is exactly what you just talked about. And also, I mean, in the very first video, you'll learn that information is even more fundamental than energy, and that everything we know always starts with some information within our consciousness. You'll also learn how quantum teleportation works. I mean, who doesn't want to watch that video if you haven't seen it already? But then also, video number 4, you learn how physical noise generators can be used to communicate with the information field, and that the observer's intention has an effect on the observed object, which you're just discussing as well. So, these, all of them are worth watching, but related to the topic that we're speaking on today, videos 5 and 6 as well. One shows how consciousness affects quantum events in a physical noise generator, recording information from its environment. So these are all related to how Healy actually works, because you have the background of quantum entanglement, and then also into the information field, the scientific basis for the information field. But then, yeah, as we're talking this call, how does Healy play into this whole thing and sort of capturing and maximizing that the ability for that entanglement to happen? And then also, this last video number 6 of 8, you learn how analysis in the information field works through simultaneous quantum entanglement of a person's bioenergetic field with a physical noise generator, information field, and digital information. So these videos are fascinating, and they were added, I think, a month or two ago, but you may have missed them. So you did, set aside some time over the holidays, over the next week or two, and watch them all at once or watch a few per day. But they're great, and really just sort of back up what we're doing here at Healy, and what's possible in the future as well.
It's not only good enough to know, but it's also good enough, we have to understand. I mean, we may see this, but what about when you don't place meaning or understanding within your own mind? You can read all the content, see all the reviews, and listen to all the testimonials, but until we actually take some belief on, we really need to take a belief on, right? And switch what we may have thought once upon a time was science fiction, and now look at the evidence. And as Jake said, recently in 2022, the Nobel Prize was given for the study of quantum entanglement. So we can't deny its existence, not anymore. And we need to really take into account how it works. And the extended version of what that means is that this experiment from René Posch shows that our mind, our thoughts, have influence, and not just on ourselves, but on our environment. And so it's really time to take responsibility for these thoughts and these presentations, even though we may feel justified in having a bit of a come apart. Just know that there's going to be an influence around you, as well as everyone entangled with you. So that sounds fun, doesn't it?
And Sonia, how are things going over there?
Well, it's going well. I wanted to do a little bit, another second picture, please, before we...
Okay, sorry, let me stop sharing.
Share. Yeah, I'm sharing now that when I have some of the programs that they repeat, it makes sense to mention them, because maybe somebody has some ideas on what's happening to them. Many times I had skin through the SCAR program, through the Healy program, circulatory for the discomfort. Like the sleep program is very good, because it gives you these, when you have these compressing pain, nerves, somebody that maybe has some type of nerve issue, sensitivity, woman related ache, and again skin. So this is a little bit what I found from all what I've been working, that it really is in the group. And it doesn't mean that all what I said is something that you have. It means that some of the frequencies in that package will resonate with some of your issues and will help. So now from 1 to 10, just from 1 to 5, apologize. Feel a little bit what you were feeling. If you feel any difference, then you go down 1 or 2 numbers. If you feel the same, you give me the same. If you were thinking about something that you have, let's say you said a knee, and that knee usually hurts when you're walking, and you imagine when you gave me the number, you remembered that walk. Get a feeling of that memory. See if that changed any. And so you're helping me focus. What you're doing is helping me focus. And when you are looking for the difference, you're also focusing different. So concentrate there and give me a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll receive it through WhatsApp. And then what I do, I change the picture on the blue app. And I continue doing sending frequencies, long distance through quantum entanglement.
Yeah. All right, well, while you're doing that, I have two more. Just wanted to show what basically we're going to show some screenshots now of what Sonia is actually doing within the app itself. So let me come back.
So everybody, if you want to save the chat, by the way, I mentioned this often on some of these calls, is down there where you put in content in the chat, there's a little smiley face. Next to that, there's 3 little dots. You can click on those 3 little dots. If you're on your PC or laptop, at the end of the call, a pop-up will say save chat, and you'll be able to store that on your device. And I did put a link in there for some things is that experiment I talked about. So anything that's in the chat will be saved for you.
So this is just, I mean, if you're on this call familiar with the Analyze 2 app, the newest Analyze app, you know, it's adding a group that's very similar to adding a person or animal or a plant or anything else. You just, when you go to clients, click that plus button at the bottom right and pick the group icon. So at that point, you can put in a name for the group and then the kind of group. So Sonia, just a question for you. When you're putting in the group, is there anything specific you do with the name itself? Or do you just put Healy Zoom December 21st or, you know, what? You're muted, sorry.
Sorry. Yes, I put the name that I feel focus myself to the group. But and that helps me also to find it when I don't have it, because I have so many clients.
Yeah.
Like if I'm treating, let's say I'm treating this Zoom, yes, I will put the name of the Zoom and especially the day of the Zoom, because then there's no other, or even the time. If I'm doing a group of horses, I don't need to put the farm, but maybe I can put the name of the farmer, or I sometimes don't put the name of the horse. I say, well, that's the horse that they call him, the little pony that came from the south of Spain, no? So
Sure.
I put that. I describe a little bit what I'm putting, not all, so that I can focus. It's mainly for. And then once I've done that, what I'm looking at is the whole group. If I get very close and I look at one of the pictures, one of the people at the group saying, like they're saying a 5, they're saying a 4, then I would focus the frequencies and the therapy on that person. But if I look back a little bit, like if I was flying out like in a plane, and then I look down to earth, you can have it all in one package. It just suddenly became smaller. And then you can focus on the group, no matter how big it is. So that's my trick. Let's see if it helps to you too.
Yeah, no, great. So yeah, and then of course the picture, what we're using here for the Zoom is just a screenshot of the people that are participating in this particular analysis, and then you just upload that or take the picture straight from your camera, and then when you're recording the vibration for the group as well, pretty similar there. So this is I think this part's an interesting question, Ken. We get asked a lot about what information you need to put in, or what information should you put in when you're setting up a new client, because like say for like a group, for example, everyone's scattered in other cities, states, countries, possibly around the world. So in that case, it's not necessarily possible to put in a single address for somebody there. So I'm just, I'm not an expert on group analysis. I'm just wondering if there's any sort of best practice for what you would do, either Sonia or Ken, any tips on what information beyond the name of the group, beyond the photo of the group itself, would you want to put in here?
We talk about this, actually, we've talked about this a couple times on Tech Tip Tuesday, where people are asking, you know, how much information do I put in there? And the answer is essentially how much of a attention can you place Healy on the group or the entity? How much detail can you put in there to build the attention? Now, the one in which that's performing the analysis is also part of the equation. So as a group, like you said, you may have a lot of names, even a lot of locations. But I like what Sonia just said. She like zooms out to be in outer space or 10,000 feet or whatever to look from a wider perspective and see the landscape of the group, you know, and then place meaning on that. The moment we place meaning on anything, it becomes a belief structure. And the belief structure becomes an imprint in consciousness. And so the consciousness, what did I just say the noise generator is reading? It's reading the consciousness that now you're putting a very specific signal as the practitioner, as the one performing the scan into the equation. So put as many details as you can in there. But as the practitioner or as the one performing the scan, the better you can encompass the group or the entity that being scanned from a mental perspective or consciousness perspective, the better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so Sonia's got a little bit more to do here as far as the last part of the, not only the analysis, but the actual vibrating of those particular programs too. So
one of the great questions was in the chat was, you know, if you didn't experience, you don't have any discomfort. Okay. But think about what discomfort means. Discomfort isn't just physical. Discomfort can be emotional. Discomfort can be environmental. Discomfort could be financial, spiritual. Discomfort, we're humans, and humans have a plethora of ways to feel discomfort, right? We're unique in that way. We can build and imagine our own discomfort, right? Our imagination is very powerful. We can make stuff up. I usually use a different word there, but we can make stuff up in terms of our discomfort with this amazing frontal cortex here. So it doesn't have to be a physical discomfort, folks. And here's the other fun part is you're not working or restrained by time. So let's say that in the beginning, your understanding was that we were looking for a physical discomfort and you put up a 0, all right, because you didn't have any at the moment. But later on, as I put some content in this chat, you discover, wow, it could have been financial discomfort, or it could have been emotional discomfort, or it could have been, you know, whatever. I want to change my number. You can still do that. You can still do that because it will influence the readings in the present moment that occurred without the time boundaries. It'll still influence it. And the content that winds up being revealed will still be relevant to you as the whole, as a group. Remember, you're part of a consciousness. I want to give you another little clue. Your discomfort and the consciousness of it was already present during the analysis. You were just putting a different number up there, but the real discomfort, we're looking at you or the group from an objective perspective. Objective. Everybody has an amazing quantum blueprint. And the physical vibration of you in this present time, I promise you, doesn't match it. It's a little bit off. Why? Because of belief structures, personality, perception, ego. I know that's not a bad word. It's just a word. And that is a filtration device from the quantum blueprint of you to the physical presence of you now in this present moment. And so there's some disorder, right? And disorder is not bad. It's not a bad word. Disorder is simply order waiting for the observer to bring it into reality. That's it. Allowing you as the observer to bring the disorder back to order. So the analysis is going to be really fun. Just make sure you hold that intention of your discomfort, and we'll see what comes up.
Right. So while we're, oh, sorry. I was going to share again for a second here. Okay, actually still working on that.
There was a question, Jake, that maybe we can, or Sonia, she's working, can answer on how long does she run the vibration during these sessions?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't do, because it's general, I don't touch the time. I just put the standard time because it's too much to know if the people were having this issue for 2 weeks or years. I just put the standard time, and I play more with the different programs. What I also do usually that I didn't do today is that I ask them to focus on what hurts most, what bothers them most, because our attention goes to what bothers us most. Maybe we have something that is more serious or more, but what really bothers in that moment is this itch, or is this, no? That's where we put the attention.
Yeah, that was one of the questions too, is how long, but also, a lot of times when we start with a new class, maybe you're running like as far as which database, picking all Healy programs and then kind of narrowing it down from there. Are you picking anything specific? Or are you doing all Healy programs to begin? Or are you kind of getting a feel using your own intuition of what databases might be best for the group that you're working with?
I usually pick up, but like if I'm distracted, then I don't. I use all Healy programs that that's really good. It's really so when I can be very concentrated, focusing on the group, then I choose myself. If I can't be that concentrated, I leave the group tell me using the all Healy programs.
Okay.
Super powerful, because that's still, remember, that is the objective observer, right? I know that there's some amazing practitioners out there. And I've worked with many in terms of the technology, and you're all brilliant. I mean, every time that you give a service to another human, that's a brilliant service, especially when it's from the heart. And the interesting part about that is that you still bring you to the table, right? So there's still a subjective perspective, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Healy is only objective. It has no subjectivity, because the random noise generator is a servant device. It is simply looking at the electrons, and an electron doesn't lie. It doesn't have an opinion. It just exists because it's in balance with the other electrons, and its existence is because you've heard this statement where everything is energy, and energy doesn't die. It just essentially moves from one form to another, from one frequency to another. It's already in creation. It's already here. So the electrons are already here. They already have information, and they're complete. There's not an electron that's missing anything. I mean, we might be missing something in our bodies, in ourselves, in our lives, but the electron that makes up this body isn't missing anything. The information was given to it, and now it's within you to serve you, to be you, to navigate you. But it's still connected to the whole. We can't separate from that. So Healy is a completely objective observer. That's that's what I find when people are saying, well, you know, there's some hocus pocus to this. I can bring the science right up into their grill and say, okay, if you understand this principle, how can it be subjective? How can it be? So this is the other reason why, by the way, folks, that Healy can't harm you. It can't essentially be maliciously hacked, right? It's the information is already intact. And like I said before, there's no space restriction or time restrictions. So the information field is whole and complete in the moment. You're just narrowing the vibrational field with the outcome of the scan based on the database. You're just at the speed of light. And by the way, when we start to converge certain magnetic signals and they amplify, they actually move beyond the speed of light. This is what scalar energy is. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's actually faster than the speed of light. So kind of cool stuff, but we can really put I put my trust in this technology because I know the science, I know how it's built, but you may know somebody out there that still has some woo-woos about it.
The spookiness, as Einstein said back then.
Sonia, can you share again what were the programs that you were vibrating?
Yes, in general, I go with the flow because it does change. It does change. Let's say that we talked about emotion. So when you talk about an emotion, the people start thinking about the emotion that they felt, where they felt, no? So then the aura program comes, and then the aura program, and the coaching program. The coaching program tells me things like personal qualities, self-love, happiness, satisfaction. There's something in the group of people that these frequencies are what they need to open to their awareness, to their betterness, well-being. Again, satisfaction comes a lot, maybe because it's Christmas and we want satisfaction, positive state, self-love. And before that, I run skin, scars, circulation. I like very much the sleeping program because it gets you to the repairing. So there was a lot of repairing at the beginning of the call. And I know that when I work repairing, I don't work in pain. As you have seen, I have not put yet the program of pain, but you will see a difference on feeling in general. If you want to give another score, then we can maybe get some testimonials of what you feel. So
we've already had some people in the chat mention the great results, positive experiences that they've had so far on this call. So it's great to
give me a number, and then there will be some things that you will feel during tonight, tomorrow, which would be really nice that you maybe on the future in another call you can share with your group. Give me a hand, and then I would like to feel some, yeah. So where you felt at the beginning, that little bit, where you focus, how do you feel? Like I focus in that little part of me, and I started with a 2. I feel it like really different now. And then we'll do a picture. And then you have it?
one more thing.
Hold it up there.
And then, yeah, like I would like maybe somebody had a very nice experience and then they can talk about it. They can share their experience today. That's really nice. Some volunteer.
Does anybody want to share?
was the one who said, I don't have any pain.
Yeah.
And
You said you were
upon
worried about some other things.
yeah, I have a lot of stress because I'm trying to get moved into a house and there's a storm coming this weekend and I just can't get it done until next week. So I was like, now there's going to be snow and that, and then financial stress. And I don't know. I just, after she was running the program, I weirdly felt very serene. I'm like, huh, maybe she manifested a check to my post office box or something, because I'm feeling very calm and not stressed. So that's incredible. Thank you so much, Sonia.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
You know, one of the things to consider too, folks, is that every circadian rhythm, we have a finite amount of energy within these human bodies. I call them our organic suit. We have a finite amount of energy. Look at it as a pail of water. And so you wake up in the morning, you have a fresh pail of water, and no matter what, at the end of the day, it's going to be empty. So the interesting part about that usage during that bandwidth of time, it's either used for stress and imbalance or chaotic response, or for balance and recovery, repair, and growth, or a combination of the two. It's still going to be empty by the end of the circadian rhythm. It's just the choice is how are we going to use that energetic content? And every time that we have some concern, emotional or energetic concern, and we start to place energy there, even the brain allocates energy. And think about this for a second. You know, the brain is only 3% of your body mass. It's the smallest, it's small considering the entire mass, but it consumes over 20% of the energy overall. And so when you're worried, I talk about this often in some of my presentations, is that worry is a gross misuse of the imagination. And irregardless if we are using the imagination for worry or for creativity, we're still consuming energy at a specific frequency. And when you consume energy that is a frequency of lack or fear or anger, it consumes at a much higher rate than energy consumed over creativity, curiosity, love, abundance. It's a different ratio. So think about how you're using your energy. It's going to be used up at the end of the day anyway. So just do a little rehearsal. I always invite people to do a little rehearsal. How'd you use it yesterday? Keeping track of how you use it today. And then I promise that you'll probably pay more attention tomorrow. Right?
Yep. For sure. Thank you, Ken. So we're a little bit past the hour mark. Sonia, anything you want to add before we close today's call?
Yes, this thing that it would be really on my side, it would be really nice that you implement this system also with your groups, like everyone that has Healy also. Like if I can share it with, let's say, 20 people, and those 20 people can share it with 50 people, that would be a lot of people coming out from me, no? And that would be very, very satisfying. And yeah, just share your experience with sharing this video. I'm really grateful for that. And then I'll ask you in one more picture, is like, did you notice a little bit? And if you have noticed a little bit, it's a thumb up. If you have not noticed anything, it's nothing. But if it's a thumb up, if you notice anything. And then we'll do a picture.
Make sure everyone can get their camera on here. Okay, I think we're good. Let's see. Okay.
Thank you so much. That thumb up is amazing. Like you want to share it, like everybody sees everybody, or you want to share it? What you see at the thumb up?
Share the photo or?
Yeah, from the picture.
Yeah, I can. Well, I'm not sure. share here, but
Well,
There was
you-
a question. There was a question in the chat about, why does some negative energy or negative thoughts consume more energy than say positive, and why would it consume more from the body? Energy is energy, right? Well, the difference in all energy is actually its frequency, and the higher vibrational states, the higher frequencies. I'm talking about consciousness has an extremely high frequency. The God particle has a very high frequency. The wave form versus a particle has a very high frequency. And the higher the frequency, the grander the potential. The grander, or that's not a great word, the more grand the potential. Okay. And so the more grand the potential, the more it's attached to limitlessness as opposed to limited. And the lower frequencies, such as anger, fear, and frustration, are more dense, closer to matter, the material form. And the body in its material form is an already proven fact, right? There's no more creation. It's just here in this present moment as a solid form. Tomorrow, or the expression of it in the next moment, is still a possibility. So when we solidified that possibility with lower vibrational frequencies, we're going to consume more energy. When we expand the limitlessness of the physical form and its possibility, it's a higher frequency. We're more closer to the wave as opposed to the particle, right? Think about it this way. If we have a memory from yesterday, we rehearse it in this present moment over and over again, 800,000 cells per second will be built under that memory, and it will be a predetermined tomorrow. Okay? I want you to hear that. So possibility cannot be reformed if you're rehearsing yesterday. Understand? You can't take yesterday, place it on the present moment, and expect it to be different tomorrow. It will not happen. So you want change? You build it in this present moment. Allow the opportunity for higher frequency information to create your body. And then you step into it in the physical form. Make sense? That's the equation of manifestation at its finest.
Yep. Thanks, Kenny. I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier at the beginning of the show, the call today, but the fact that, the skepticism, of course, around the what was once considered spooky, and many people still today are like, how is that possible? How are you running the scan and then doing this? And we've seen just on this call, from the people that we have here, we've had some positive experiences, and I think it's important, and Sonia, you mentioned it earlier, from getting people to go from this is impossible to realizing that this is the way the universe works, to someone going from this, there's no way this will work for me, to what if this works for me? Getting that key shift in the mindset, because if Ken, you've mentioned this many times when we talked about on Tech Tip Tuesday, if someone comes in with a mindset that there's no way that this is going to work for me, they're probably right. It probably won't work for them. So that's why when we're doing these calls, that's why it's part of the general information we share about the information field, is that it's up to the user to determine the usefulness of the information they receive.
Yes, it is. There's this. The focus is very important. Like if somebody is distracted when they're putting the number, something else, so they're thinking really in something else and not on what they're testing or their number. That does affect. Like with the animals, I observe them, and I also look where they look, because like if you have a horse that's lame and then you make it walk, and when it's walking, it's once it's stepping the feet, it puts the feet up, and then it's aching, and then the eyes look like inside, like they look somewhere. So I always look the eyes where they're looking at, and that really helps me focus. If I'm doing a house, I'm walking along the house, and then I'm the one feeling, right? Because it is true that a house, there's some places or some houses that you just can't get in that room, and then you start asking and they say, oh yeah, like during the war in this room, that's what was like big trouble, big problem, and the big family traders and killing and things like that. And you say, wow, but I did feel it. So then you work with what you feel. Let's say long distance also, I get all what the people say about that animal, and then I ask after. I also check when it's happening. I'm also getting a perception, the same idea of the house. Let's say I'm working now into the program of anxiety. So when it's running, I'm checking, is the first one that's running right now, how does it feel for the group? I don't feel like these ones helping. What about the next one coming up? Yeah, it feels like the house feeling, huh? It does feel that helping. I think that also puts my perception in that's helping the frequencies, and it's my way to reaching where the people need, no? And I must say, like, when people put the thumb up, I just checked the picture and almost everybody was everybody was a thumb up. So it was really, really nice. Very, very, very pretty. So yeah, next meeting, more people, please.
Or pets next meeting. So I think we might do one with animal focus next time too, which will be a lot of fun. So
That's really pretty.
get all the animals on camera.
Everybody's sharing, oh, this and that, and then
Yeah.
It's more difficult to see, but using the partners know how they're feeling. They start saying, oh, the cat that was crazy running up the book and now is sleeping. I can't believe it. Or my also
Doc Steve brought
barking.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody bring their pets next time, right?
Yeah.
Or their herd.
Yeah.
Maybe do it remotely out amongst the herd of whatever you have out there, right?
Yeah. We'll set that up. So yeah,
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you so much,
Anybody
Ken.
else wants to share, like, really quickly?
Anybody have a testimonial they were burning to speak?
I think we covered the main experiences here that came through the chat. So, but yeah, this has been amazing. Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Ken. It's so appreciated. We're so lucky to have people like you here in our Healing World community that are so willing to share their knowledge, their experience, because we have a tremendous gift here, and we all want to be able to maximize it and get the most out of it. So that's one of the amazing things of our such a lovely Healy World community that we have here around the world. You know, we have Ken in Washington, me in Florida, Sonia in Spain, and we have people all over the place. Doc Steve over in California. So, but yes, we appreciate this and appreciate all of you, and hope everybody has an amazing end of the year. Happy holidays, and we will see you all in 2024.
Yeah.
Remember to save the chat if you like. If you found this useful, everybody, please share it. The recording will be up soon. So thank you guys. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Sonia. You guys rock.
Thank you.
Love you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Gracias.